There were so many emotions that I had to deal with going through all of that and not knowing if I was going to wake up, the next day and see my family.
So they would not be permitted to handle weapons.
For 2.5 years.
Your Honor, what I'd be requesting is to continue it to another pretrial.
Judge, defense is just asking for a continuance.
Fox 13 has been telling you about a Utah National Guard soldier accused of domestic violence.
I absolutely feel like I'm being victimized repeatedly.
And on tape threatening 2 presidents.
I have no issues taking a gun and starting shooting left-wing at their rallies. No problem at all.
Now we can report that he recently served jail time, something his ex-wife was pushing for, but she still isn't satisfied. Has the National Guard been cooperative in this matter or hindrance?
I know of no reason to think that they haven't been cooperative with us.
I'm Fox 13 investigative reporter Nate Carlisle. This is what the National Guard and the Utah justice system did and didn't do. Christian Marx was a sergeant first class in the Utah Army National Guard. Recently, he was the defendant in a Farmington courtroom. He's been in a lot of courtrooms since we first reported on him in 2021.
Waiting for these cases to go has been very traumatic in and of itself.
Erica Lukes was Mark's wife and victim. He was charged with multiple counts of misdemeanor domestic violence. Lukes has pushed law enforcement to hold Marks accountable since he violated protective orders meant to protect her.
I don't feel like I am being properly protected as a victim of domestic violence.
As Marks' cases moved through civilian courts, the National Guard placed Marks in a status where he couldn't be promoted. But they didn't discharge Marks either. Not even when Lukes gave the Guard this.
Biden buddy. Both of them Biden. I hate his guts. I want to, if I ever see him, if I ever meet him in person, God forbid, I'm going to insult the president and beat the out of him.
Recordings of Marks threatening Presidents Obama and Biden and protesters. This is what a National Guard spokesman told us last year.
Until somebody determines that to be a valid and credible threat, then it's very difficult for us to take, any sort of severe adverse action against a soldier.
But for unknown reasons, the Guard changed its stance in February. That's when Lukes' victim's advocate told her Marks was being discharged.
I definitely do question, though, why it has taken such a long time.
The advocate saying Marks received a general discharge. It allows him to keep his veterans' benefits.
A general discharge is, in my opinion, not enough.
The National Guard would not confirm Marks' discharge type and would not speak to us about him this time. Meanwhile, that felony gun case...
Your Honor, I have a witness who is out of the country on a pre-planned vacation. One of my other witnesses is being deployed on military leave and won't be back until 2025.
In light of the state's inability to proceed, I'm going to dismiss this case without prejudice.
After the dismissal of the felony case, I literally couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks.
Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill said he hasn't decided whether to refile the charges.
There's some issues that keep coming up that we need to be able to answer that might impact the outcome of that case.
Then in April, Marks was cited with domestic violence again, this time accused of assaulting a woman he was living with in Centerville. 3 days later, he was charged with violating the agreement to stay away from the victim. Marks spent 34 days in jail until he was released.
My name is Erica Lukes.
In May, after more than 3 years, Marks reached an agreement with prosecutors in the assaults against Lukes, pleading guilty to 1 count of misdemeanor domestic violence. Lukes read a statement to the judge.
He threatened to murder me on numerous occasions. Mr. Marks threatened to commit mass murder on multiple occasions. I believe, without a doubt, my life is and will continue to be in danger, as will his latest victim.
I have zero intent of ever having any contact with her.
If you do, and it comes back to me, then all bets are off, and you're going to spend a year in jail.
At sentencing, Marks was given credit for those 34 days he spent in jail after charges with a new victim. No additional jail time.
You are to serve probation.
Though he did receive 120 days of probation. not enough, Luke says.
I feel more afraid, for my life than I did back then.
I apologize for executing poor judgment in this matter.
Marx pleaded guilty to violating that agreement to stay away from the second woman. At sentencing on June 10th, Marx again avoided additional jail time.
Two combat tours in Iraq, combat tour in Bagram. Thank you for your service.
At that sentencing hearing, Marx was referred to as a low-risk offender, in part because all of his convictions are misdemeanors. Speaking of which, Marx has pleaded not guilty to that last misdemeanor domestic violence count in Centerville. In Salt Lake City, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.